Okay, listeners and viewers, welcome back to another episode of Compliance in Motion, the podcast where we dive deep into real stories, strategies, and systems that power real workplace safety. And I'm real excited about today's episode. Today we have Robert Clark, Director of Health and Safety at the Universal Group. My name's Tony DeAscentis, and I'm your host for Compliance in Motion. Robert, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Tony.
I'm real excited to be talking with you today because I obviously did my homework and took a look at your website and read up on your background and things like that. And I can honestly say I have not interviewed somebody from a company like Universal Group. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. And if you could just walk us through, like the primary services that Universal Group delivers for customers and your role in the company.
All right. Well, the Universal Group is the largest traffic management company in Canada. We supply flagging services. We supply traffic management services. We're a sign manufacturing facility as well. So 80% of all the municipal, provincial, federal signs that you see on the highways from east to west, right across Canada, we make about 80% of those signs.
Wow.
We are in 6 provinces in Canada, as well as 2 states, Washington and Oregon, down in the States. And my role with the company is I'm the Director of Health and Safety. So I have a team of 20 health and safety professionals working for me in every province as well as down in the States. So we manage the safety program. We're course certified in every single province right across Canada. And so, yeah, that's my role, is to manage safety right across the company.
Yeah. So what I heard was 80% of that's a big chunk of the business. That's keeps you guys are busy all the time,
Yeah.
especially with the amount of road systems and projects going on for infrastructure and things like that. I gotta believe you're just on a nonstop treadmill. And then the second thing I heard was, I think you said 22 safety professionals that are part of your network that you're accountable for working with. You are a busy man. So thank you for carving out a chunk of your time to spend with us today and share some of your stories with our audience. Greatly appreciated. You know what, let's kick this off with a discussion around culture. So, the foundation of every great safety program really begins with a culture that somebody has worked hard to establish. And so when you look across your teams, what's been the biggest mindset shift in getting people to truly own safety instead of just comply with it? Really embodying a culture of the Universal Group.
Well, I think so. I've been with the company for 4 years, and in November of 23, we implemented a safety management system. We were using 14 different systems to manage our safety. Wow. We were paper-based. We had to put everything into an Excel and then into from SharePoint to Excel to Power BI.
The wonderful world of cutting and pasting.
I mean, we had 2 people just to manage the documentation, paperwork, and safety program.
Yeah. Right.
So we looked at a safety management system, and I had no idea. I mean, I've been a health and safety professional for 27 years now. But the impact that safety management system had on the organization was, absolutely mind-blowing. We, prior to implementing the system, we were all paper-based. So, all our workers would do their risk assessments on paper. They would turn them in at the end of the month, or if we were doing site inspections, we'd be able to see them then, but we didn't have a whole lot of visibility with what was happening in the field. And once we implemented this management system, they now do everything everything online. So
Mm.
I see all of their risk assessments as soon as they're done. So
Yeah.
everything's in real time.
Yeah.
And
Got rid of that lag time of not only lag time, but wondering where the paperwork was and the countless hours of chasing people down, right?
well, and then trying to do the corrective actions. They'd do a pre-trip, and it would take us 3 weeks to get them windshield wipers because we didn't know they needed windshield wipers.
Yeah. Right.
Now
Right.
with the system, they report it this morning they need windshield wipers. Our fleet department gets a notification right away, and they reach out to the employee. So the employees have seen, that the change in what we've provided to them, and they see that the results, right? They need windshield wipers today, they get them today, right? And that's really been a huge shift because now that they know that we're listening and we're getting their information, they're giving us a whole lot more information.
Yeah, it
So
really changes the mindset on, somebody, here I go, I'm doing this paperwork, I'm filling this out. And then somebody turned to their colleague or their coworker and said, "Do you think anybody ever reads this? Like, where does this end up?" And so the motivation to complete the form accurately and feel a sense of ownership of it was falling through the cracks, right? I mean,
yeah,
and not across the board, obviously, but there are those moments where people just kind of wonder, pushing another piece of paper. And it sounds like this, adopting of the technology was also really instrumental to one, showing your employees and the workers out there accountable for safety and compliance, that the company is willing to make an investment and get a tool that's going to enable them to do their jobs more effectively and obviously support the safety culture end to end. Am I kind of, is that
yeah,
about
no,
right?
it's 100% right. Like they see that we're actioning the items. They see that we're paying attention. We reach out to them for explanations now. And our health and safety committee meetings are way more engaging now because they have, a big part of culture and a big part of getting people to do what they need to do is understanding the why, right? So if you can explain to them why they're doing something or why we're want to do it this way, we get a whole lot more buy-in, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
not only do we get the buy-in, but we also get the output or the return on investment because now they're trying to come up with solutions for, some of these risks and hazards that are on the site that otherwise would leave it to us to try to do something about, right? But
Yeah, and that's so key what you're talking about, the why, because we live in I mean, this is as old as time in any learning environment. Educators know that the fancy word, the pedagogical methodology approach to learning is to engage with people and make sure that they're engaged with you. But one of the common threads is relevance, the why. Why do I need to know this? And how is this relevant to me and what I'm doing today and those around me? And it sounds like you guys have really done that, with the automating of a system and freeing up all the hours of work that it takes to just keep track of a manual process, you now free up headspace to be thinking about the why and have conversations about it. So you're shifting low level tasks of administrative stuff for high level conversation between colleagues, right?
absolutely, absolutely. And it's part of everything we do, right? We don't teach you how to do the job and then put you through a safety course, right? Like safety is integrated and woven into every aspect of what we do, whether it's, at the field level doing their risk assessments, whether it's our traffic services, support services department making up the traffic management plans. They use their system to do their risk assessments prior. It's part of what we do. When we talk about safety at the senior level, it's talked about the same way finance and operations is talked about, right? Like it's not,
Mhm.
oh, now it's safety. It's part of what we do. And, our CEO is really engaged in safety as well. And we're all about providing customers with peace of mind. So we're out there to protect the road crews, right? Like
Yep.
anybody working on the road and we get flaggers on the road, that's what we do. We protect.
That's
So
serious
everybody
stuff, right? Yeah.
within our company is a safety person.
Yeah, and you're in a very unique dynamic. So many of our listeners out there are in a warehouse or in a factory or on a construction site where everyone there is, in theory, aware of safety issues, compliance issues. But in your line of work, you have people out on the road. You have cars flying by at 80 miles an hour who are not aware of the safety protocols other than stay in your lane and, and don't speed and pay attention and all that stuff. But you have all these variables that other people don't have. Are there any specific scenarios you can talk to us about? How do you manage all those like extraneous variables on a job site like that?
A high risk activities that we do is manage traffic, right?
Mhm.
20 years ago, when our flaggers would set up a work zone and they would stand on the road, right? They would stand in the middle of the lane and the cars would see them and they would stop. In today's world, with cell phones and the screens in your car and everything else, people's attention are taken away for longer periods of time. So drivers will look away at their phone and they'll be looking at their phone for 15, 20 seconds while a
Yeah.
car travels a fair distance in 20 seconds.
Oh, quite a
So,
distance at 80 miles an hour, right?
and standing on the road is no longer a viable option, right? Like the
Right.
cars, they don't stop. We cannot stop a car with a body, right? And people just don't pay attention. We've over the last year and a half, we've been using devices called automated flagging assistance devices. So they're basically a stoplight with an arm that comes down. So
Oh,
that takes our workers off the road. So we put
yeah.
that machine out when we put the arm down, the traffic comes and stops. We still operate it from the side of the road, but we don't
Right.
have to put ourselves in traffic anymore.
Yeah.
And there's
Right.
lots of technology out there that we're starting to use geofencing,
Mhm.
wearable technology. There's technology we can put in our traffic cones. So as soon as they're moved, we get an alert, early warning system if a car is going through a work zone. So there's all sorts of things that we can do. But one of the biggest and simplest is just taking our people off the road,
Hmm.
right? And
You
and
know what?
making sure
What
they are not in harm's way.
I can only imagine. Now, have you been in this same company for the past 25 years that
No,
you've been in a,
I've been with this organization for the past 4 years.
for the past 4 years? Because my question was going to be, but still being in safety, you've seen a lot of technology innovation. And the kinds of things that you just mentioned there, uh, from your, automating a lot of your safety processes with a platform that's designed to do that, all the way to taking advantage of innovation and safety to do something as simple as get the worker off the road and
Yeah.
use some type of technology as an early warning system or a gate to get people to, you can operate it from afar instead of in harm's way, right? And is there any particular technology that just jumps out at you that you just go, oh my God, I can't believe we used to do it this way. And now today we literally have the ability to like take this piece of technology with us to job sites and it makes an unbelievable difference.
So we use a piece of equipment that our team out in Ontario designed, and it's basically we call it the snowplow.
Yeah.
So when we do a setup on a freeway or on a highway, we're using barrels, and sometimes it can be like a couple of miles of barrels that we're setting up. Well, at the end of the day, we've got to take all those down. So how we used to do it before, we would have our truck in a crash truck and we would drive along and we'd be picking up the barrels, going slow, holding up traffic. Traffic would be whizzing by us. Now what we do is they've got a device that just comes out like a snowplow and it pushes all those barrels off to the side of the road, and then we pick them up off the side of the road so we're again not in traffic,
Oh my
right? And
gosh, I can't even tell you when we like here in Ohio, it took forever, but it's finally done. But there was mass numbers of years where they were putting a third lane in our turnpike that runs state to state, and I used to drive it all the time. And back in the day when they were doing this project, you'd see these guys hanging off the side of a truck, picking up the orange plastic barrels
Yep.
and putting them in as cars were just inches away, flying by in the in the other lanes. Now, one of the things that I think I heard you just mention before you told that little story was it sounded like This was a solution that team members came up with. So tell us a little bit about that process. What did you do? Get people together, or was it an organic thing where just people were just like thinking, "Hey, we've got snowplows. Why can't we adapt them to do this task?"
That's kind of how it happened. So out at Beacon Light in Ottawa, we have a team. I believe there's 7 to 10 mechanics out there. So we do all of the work in-house. We build our own cross trucks out there. And these mechanics are very resourceful. So our employees go to them and they're like, this is the problem. I can't see this or I can't do that. So they're always trying to come up with solutions for it. And Jason was the one that come up with the
Yeah,
snowplow. He's like, well, why don't we just try this? And we tried it, showed the ministry, and they're like, yeah, no, you can use it. So
yeah,
it's just, simple things like that, that when you allow somebody to think, right, and you give them the opportunity to come up with solutions, it's incredible what people can do when they put their heads together, right? Like,
yeah, it is absolutely when they get together and people start brainstorming. And sometimes, the idea starts as a little kernel and it snowballs. No pun intended with the snow blower and all that kind of stuff, but we're on that subject. It snowballs, and then what we always talk about is you come up with an idea, and if you create a culture where participation is welcome and no idea is a bad idea, every idea might be not be equally as good as the next one. However, each idea becomes a springboard, and your colleagues help the idea over the wall, is what I like to say. So if you're in one of these roundtable discussions, listeners out there, encourage people to throw ideas on the table. Some of them might be warranted a little chuckle here and there because and then it might move over to the side rather quickly, but never discourage anybody from throwing it out on the table, and encourage everyone else around the table to say, how can you take this idea and build on it to the point where it becomes the solution? And it sounds like you guys really foster that culture without a doubt. So you've got a lot of dynamics going on. You've got the technology to support the processes. You've got the safety culture, which is embedded throughout your teams and across the the vast territory that Canada covers and you guys cover by having 80% of that market out there. And then you bring in this empowerment sense where you get people the opportunity to share their idea and maybe run down the road with it as a solution. And what I also liked was that you tagged on there, you shared the idea with ministry and got input and approval. So if you're in the States here, that would be sharing it with OSHA, would be
yeah,
the equivalent of kind of thing. And also for our southern state people and out west who don't have snowplows, I'm sure there's some that you can find somewhere and adopt this idea into your organization as well.
yeah.
So this brings out another side. So obviously there's ongoing training that you need to do. Tell us a little bit about the requirements in Canada and as it relates to your industry and services. What are the main things that you really need that are reoccurring that you need to keep up with? Um, and if you could talk to us a little bit about, do you do these online or in person, or is it a hybrid approach?
So initially, all of our employees need to take a 2 day certification course. So it's the traffic control person course, and that teaches them, how to work on the road, what equipment they need on the road. Um, but then, and then we, once they take that certification, and that's a provincial certification, they come to us, and then we will put them through a full day of orientation. And then they serve 3 to 5 shifts with a mentor. So we never put somebody out there by themselves. The mentor works with them for the first 5 days, and if they, require more training, then we'll have more mentoring shifts until the people are comfortable.
Hmm.
We have a 90-day program where so my team, the OHS team, once we have new employees out in the field, we will go out and introduce ourselves. We'll do a site inspection, and we start training. So every site inspection that we do involves some component of training, whether that's, the monthly toolbox talk that we put out. We have over 100 safe job and safe work procedures for how that they do their job. And then you go from a TCP into a lane control technician. So the TCP is the person that is standing there with the paddle or running the AFAD. The LCT is the one that puts the equipment out on the road. So again, there's if they want to become an LCT, there's a 2-day training course for that as well. And then we have all sorts of other training, like paving for flaggers is a very complex site, and it's a moving site, obviously, because as you pave, you're continuously moving. So we've got
Right,
to
right.
continuously move our equipment with the pavers and still
Mm,
control traffic. So
mm,
we're just developing a paving course right now because that's, our contractors expect it. They don't want anybody to slow them down. Obviously, construction is construction. Let's go, go, go. So we have to, again, be the same thing. So when I first started here, I thought, our advisors needed to be safety people, but my whole team of advisors were traffic control people because traffic control people know traffic, and it is such a high risk industry. It takes a while to learn this industry. Um, so we do a lot of training through online training so that they can do it from their truck, from on their phone. We do classroom training. My team is out there constantly. We do site inspections every day, so random right across the organization. And every time we roll up, we provide training. So they sign off on the training, we review it, we have a discussion. And if the training is going to be in depth that we have to do, we'll take a second person to take their spot on the road while we teach them. Right.
gotcha.
But
Yeah.
for any big training, we'll bring them into the classroom. But a safe job, safe work procedure, a lot of that is done online. And we're just creating a series of videos. And we're going to go with 45 to 90-second videos
Nice.
instead
Yeah.
of a 10-minute video, because nobody wants to sit and watch a 10-minute video. Everybody's on Instagram or Facebook or
Oh
TikTok.
gosh, yeah. If listeners out there, if you're using anything, well, 45, 90 seconds is pretty tight. So you've got to be really good at nailing down your message. However, micro learning is without a doubt the way to go. We are big preachers and pushing of best practice of micro learning to all of our customers here in the States. And we usually try to keep each module 7 minutes or less with
Yeah.
multiple multiple assets in it, video, test images, things like that to keep people going. So did you find it a challenge at first trying to pare what you needed down to the 45? You said 45 or 90 seconds is kind of your
Yeah.
benchmark. That sounds like a challenge, but it can be done. I know it can be done. You know it can be done. So how do you go about taking a complex subject that like somebody's looking at you, there's no way we can get this down to 45 seconds. I'm sure we've heard that. I know you've heard that too, probably if you share that same task, right?
Yep. So these supplement our safe job or safe work practices, right? So these are more, they've done the training. Now these are refreshers and
Yep.
reminders of what to do.
Yep.
However, you're right, it hasn't been easy. 45 seconds is not a lot of time to get your message out there and ensure people, understand the message.
Hmm.
But we've been pretty successful in doing it. It was a challenge. It took us, we just finished the scripts here a couple weeks ago, but we went back and forth on that and with the editors and everything else. And they're like, yeah, no, this is still too long. Right. And you think it's almost done. And, um,
Yep.
but we had a
Uh,
really good team that helped us. And a lot of it too is the video that you capture on the road. That says
yep.
a lot too. Right.
Yep. Yes, I think it's a mind shift for anybody out there thinking about like yeah, I don't know. We had these 35, 45 minute OSHA courses that we have people to work through, and how can you get things down to 45 seconds? There's some key things here to take away. One is it's not meant to be the entire training. It's meant to be a refresher. It's meant to be a micro learning. It's meant to be delivered at the right time to the right people in the right place, so that I like to say right before they perform a specific
Yep.
task, especially if they're in the new hire category, or they just took on a new job because within your company they had a job rotation or something like that,
Yep.
and it's a new task they haven't done. These micro refreshers that Robert, so rolling out, you started using them, but you're rolling out more
Yep.
and things like that. Without a doubt, a best practice. But you also need to have a tool to get these out there. So it's not, so you need, otherwise, you can't have a supervisor stand up and deliver a 45-second message that, kind of doesn't, you could, but it's a different message that's getting delivered in the well thought out 45 to 90-second piece there. But these micro refreshers are perfect for getting people to recall, reuse, and apply information that they learned when they were in the longer courses or in the in-person course, right?
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. And we're a heavily regulated industry as well. So, I mean, this year alone, we've had, so in Canada, WorkSafe is our equivalent to OSHA.
Mhm.
So WorkSafe has done over 50 inspections on us just in BC alone, right? So they're all over us all the time. We've never had a fine, never had a penalty. We get orders once in a while, but those are, pretty easy to deal with. And a lot of time, and that's where the refresher needs to come in,
Yep.
right? For the workers. It's like, well, why were you doing that? So, well, I forgot. So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
well, here's some videos to help keep that,
Yep.
top of mind while you're out on the road. So
Absolutely. So you have a lot of parallel tracks to your safety training program. You have the refreshers, you have full length courses people have to take, you have in person training that you like to bring people in and work through, whether it's conference room or wherever, and you have job site training going on. How do you balance all of that at the same time you have to get the work done, right?
yep, yep.
So, what is your cadence or your frequency, and have you ever recognized there? Oh, we hit the ceiling. We better slow down. We're doing. People are starting to think they're like, hey, I'm overwhelmed with the training I have to do. I can't
Yeah.
even get my job done. What's your cadence and frequency? How do you decide?
So we we never see the same employee twice in a month. So once we've seen them, then unless there's an issue that we have to go back to site for, obviously we will. But we have 700 employees in BC alone, and 9 advisors around the province here to visit all of those sites.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's just a matter of, understanding the client's needs, understanding, on a road closed, we're going to do more training than on a paving site. If we roll up on a paving site, we're not going to interrupt what they're doing, and we may not do training with them on that day, just because that's a moving site. There's a lot of components to it. So we kind of pick and choose where we're going to provide that training. We have a lot of big jobs, but we also have a lot of one-day jobs as well, right? Where that it will allow us the opportunity to do that. If somebody's on a highway, absolutely not. We're not going to provide training at that time, because you got to have your head on a swivel when you're out there. You got to be looking all the time because these cars move fast,
I can
right?
imagine.
So,
Yeah.
and electric
Yeah.
cars, you can't even hear them, right?
Yeah.
So that's
I didn't
that's
even think about that. Right. Yeah. There's not even an audible. There's a murmur, and it could be anything, right? If
Yeah,
that.
so that's what
If
I mean.
that.
You
Right.
constantly, you can never have your back to traffic, but yet you got to
Yeah.
see the crews. So there's always lots on the
Yeah.
go, right? And we kind
Yeah.
of do it based on the needs of the contractor and based on the needs of, what we're doing, what's our initiative, why are we doing this training?
And
So
I can't even imagine what might be going through your head in this particular industry sector when you introduce autonomous vehicles. I mean, and driverless vehicles is what I'm talking about, right?
yeah, 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 yeah,
And I'm out there working on the road in some major cities. They're everywhere now. They're on freeways, they're on side streets. I was just interviewing and talking to somebody the other day. They're in Texas, and they have a whole fleet of trucks in Texas that are delivering and driving on the freeways now,
really,
and they are, constantly analyzing the data and everything. But still, you got to think about, like, we have people via manned vehicles, and we have autonomous. There's a lot going on out there now.
yeah,
With all the effort and structure that you guys have in place, you're in a great position, I would believe, to look at data and recognize trends and kind of say, okay, where'd we come from? How do we use that data and those trends to recognize proactively where we need to do something and go forward? So do you have that opportunity to take a look at data and analyze and recognize trends?
So last year alone, so we track all our forms, obviously. We had over 150,000 forms submitted last year, from our pre-trips to our field level risk assessments, incident reports, investigations, just you name it, we've got it. I didn't know what I was good. There's so much data. So our health and safety management system has an AI piece, and I've been working with our service provider. And so currently I use AI to analyze my data because we have so much of it. And I
Hmm.
I ran a test, right? Like, I had one of my advisors, I gave them the exact same data set and I said, "Here, review this data, tell me what you see for trends." I took that exact same data set and I put it into ChatGPT and I asked it, analyze these trends. And I
Yep.
gave it parameters, time of day, weather,
Yeah.
is there, what's going on? So I've got all these parameters. 30 seconds later, it spits it out of ChatGPT and gives me what the trends are. And obviously, I wanted to verify to make sure it's accurate.
Right.
Um, my advisor worked 8 hours on the same data and didn't come up with half of the trends that AI was able to,
Yeah. Yeah.
analyze and come up with. So
In the
I've been
30
working with,
seconds.
yeah, like, it's
Yeah.
incredible. And
It is incredible.
you know,
Right.
when you can get that information at your fingertips in, a timely fashion like that,
Yep.
it's a game
Yep.
changer.
Yeah. Now you have to still read what the AI agent like, and you have to verify like you did until you get real comfortable. We've been using AI agents in ChatGPT now for a couple of years, and our learning curve has been extremely rapid and beneficial.
Yeah.
But the more you use it, the better off you get. And one of the things that people are starting to do out there is taking these reports with massive amounts of data instead of taking a week or 2 or 30 days because you have other work.
Yeah.
It may only take 8 hours to do an analysis, but you have a bunch of other things need to do. So elapsed time might be 30 days. Well, that's too long, right? I want to take action on this stuff now. You drag and drop that report right into ChatGPT, you give it some parameters and go from there. Little tip, you probably are doing this already, but for our listeners out there who are not using AI yet for this kind of thing, ask ChatGPT to ask you 5 questions that you can answer that will help chat do a better analysis of the data that you give it. So you don't have to really think about all the parameters that you want to tell the AI engine. Of course, I always add my own personal parameters to it, but then I always, if it's a big enough project, just throw right in there and say, hey, before you do the research, chat GPT, ask me 5 questions that will help you do a better job. And it just fine tunes it and sucks that
Yeah.
scope down to exactly what you want it to do.
See,
And
I've used it in other ways. I've got it to ask me 20 questions to get to know me better and understand my writing style, but I've never done that. I like that idea. I'm gonna try
I
that.
think, yeah, I think you'll be really happy with. I use it all the time, and then if it's using any sources, of course, say only use reputable sources and tell me the name of the source with a hyperlink to where you
Yeah.
found it,
Yeah.
and then it
Yeah,
gives
I
you
do
all that
that all
stuff.
the time too.
And there's a lot of folks out there that are you can't just take the AI answer and run with it. You have to at the stage that we're in right now, the development and in safety in particular, because there are a lot of variables out there when you get out on that road in your environment and a lot of other people's environments that maybe it hasn't advanced enough to really understand all of that stuff there. But I'm really glad you brought that up about how you're using that as a tool to help you get to the thought process and the solution and recognition of a trend much faster. In fact, you can even tell the AI agent to tell you where the trends are and give you a suggested path of how to analyze them further. Like that, you're on your way. So that's exciting stuff for you. So now coming reeling out, you and I could probably talk about an hour, AI for about an hour. In fact, maybe that's something we should have as a series on our podcast is AI and
Yeah.
safety.
Yeah.
I bet you we'd learn a lot and get a lot of tips going on there. But let's get back into another question I have for you. Do you folks use subcontractors, temporary workers, and employees from time to time?
No, we're generally the subcontractor.
You're generally the subcontractor, right? So pretty much everybody on in your employ is somebody who's taken a job with the company, not necessarily there for 2 or 3 weeks. Okay, so I was
Yeah.
curious about that because I know you have a really solid top down side to side approach to safety, and I was just thinking like if you have a temporary worker come in, where do they fit into your process?
Well, and we do. Okay, so I mean, I'm just on a grand scale. We're generally the primes hire us to do flagging, but we get workers in here all the time, the contract workers, right? And what we do, depending on what they're doing, like if they're coming in to fix something in the warehouse, if they're working with us, if they're a company, we want their safety program. We want that is specific to the job they're doing, so we know that they can do the job. But then we include them, right? It's not just, okay, there's where you do the work. If they're going to be at our site for a couple of days, we'll include them in safety meetings. We'll include them in what we do. So they're part of the team and they know that if there's an issue that they're dealing with, they come talk to us and we can help figure it out for them or with
Yep.
them, not for them. Because everything's collaborative, right? So it's a matter of regardless of their status, whether they're a contractor, temporary, they need to be and they need to feel part of what we're doing.
Yep, absolutely. When you bring people into the fold, they are part of your group for the
That's right.
day, for the week, for the month, whatever it is. So you have to have a plan as to how they integrate into that, and they need to know about your culture of say something, speak up, offer up a
Mhm.
solution if you don't think it's working out the right way. Um, so, just there's just so many different human variables and job site variables and technology variables that all have to come together, and it definitely takes organization to have a really good, solid roadmap for what they're doing today and how they're going to support it. So it kind of turns the corner and gets me thinking about the future and the vision of where the program goes. Is there a roadmap ahead of particular target projects in safety that are top of mind for you? Maybe they're 2026 things that you're going to be taking a look at.
Well, I mean, my next big project. So we're course certified in every province, and the course certification is basically we compliance is here and we've taken it to here, right? So there's safety associations in every province that help you with this, and they will do the audit. And if you do pass core, then you get rebates on your work safe premiums. You're
Yep.
recognized as a safer company. So
Yep.
we just finished the core right across Canada. So every province that has core is core certified. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take that same mentality down to Washington and Oregon. The safety standards in the States is a little bit different. However, and what I'm finding down there is everything's very litigious, right? There's every somebody gets hurt, they talk to a lawyer. Here in Canada, we have programs, at work here, gradual return to work, modified duties. We will ensure the workers are taken care of. And what we want to do is we want to bring that same culture down to both Washington and Oregon and our companies down there so that
Yep.
if and when somebody gets hurt, they know they're going to be supported. We're going to continue paying them. We're going to put them on modified duties. And we need to change that culture down there where people just run to a lawyer right away, right? Like,
Right.
and in speaking with our American counterparts down there, they're like, do you think that'll work? And when they come up here and they see how our safety, well,
No, it's
I
already
don't like
working.
using the word safety culture.
It's already working for you guys, right? And
Yeah,
so the question is not can it work? The question is, how do we roll it out into these other places and really sustain it, right? And make it happen. And it's an excellent idea, obviously. And I just like how it's an initiative for you folks is, we're not going to just say, hey, don't worry about those two states over there that we're doing business in. No, they are part of our organization. And in the states here, we have a lot of different regulations by state, California to New York, and everywhere in between. California and New York and New Jersey being some of the more stringent of the states and more proactive looking forward to new regulation and things like that. And a lot of times we'll be working with a customer that's say in, Texas or something like that. And they have one or two locations in California. They will adopt the standards of California to the company that's actually there. They have locations in California. The headquarters might be in Texas,
Yep.
but they adopt the same principles to the highest level of standard that they want everybody in the company to adhere to. And this is what your people culture side is. Hey, we have this culture of people that we want to take care of. We want that to permeate into other locations. It's a fantastic corporate approach, without a doubt.
Well,
Something to be proud
consistency
of.
helps, right? If we're consistent right across the organization, no matter what province, what state, what the regulations are, as long as
Yep.
we go higher than what the regulation states, OSHA's happy, WorkSafe's happy, the ministry's happy. So
Yep.
we work to best practice and the highest standards. So,
Yep.
if Ontario has a higher standard than BC, then that's what the standard we use here in BC is Ontario's. The same as down in the States, right? So we want
Yep.
consistency right across.
Yep.
Obviously, there's going to be nuances and there are going to be things that are different in every area. But for the most part, if we can be consistent 75 to 80% right across, that culture then is, it becomes part of the culture. People understand it and they accept it, and it's, makes for a better working environment, in my opinion.
Without a doubt. It's unfortunate that we're coming to a close in our time together here today, but I think if we don't have a hard stop, you and I could end up talking for another hour very easily. So, listeners, I trust you got a lot out of today's discussion with Robert. As we close, I just started doing this, so let's see how it goes with you. It's my new closing to the session. It's called Rapid Fire Close. I have 3 questions for you,
Okay.
and you can give me the top of mind answer. Uh, First, what's the best safety advice you've ever received?
Don't give up. I mean, what we do, there a lot of times it's challenging to get people to conform or to comply, right? And there's always a way, right? A lot of people will get frustrated and walk away. And maybe that's what you have to do in that moment, but don't give
Right.
up. Everybody,
Yeah.
deserves that same chance to be safe.
Yep. Absolutely. Question number 2. What's one safety myth you'd love to bust once and for all? What's one safety myth you'd love to just bust once and for all?
This isn't traffic control, but I used to work in the casino environment. And it is kind of safety. Everybody believed, like here, we worked in casinos here in Canada. And everybody believed that, oh, well, they pump oxygen into the casinos to keep everybody awake. That's a fire hazard. There is no such thing as oxygen being pumped into casinos. That's a myth. That's
That's
one of the ones that stays with me because I worked in the casinos for 12
yeah.
years as well, right?
They
So
might have a lot of caffeinated products readily available, but no one's pumping oxygen into the room. And
there is, yeah,
the last question for you, finish this sentence for me. Compliance in motion means
a great platform. Right? That's what we're
platform.
on here right now. And I've been
Yeah.
actually bragging it up to everybody here at work that I was going to be doing this podcast. So
Great. I'm glad you did. And it's been a great one and something to be proud of. And obviously something that you're going to want to share with workers as well as people that are, thinking about working with you guys, because it really gives a great recap and some periodical details throughout on how you all approach safety at the Universal Group. Well, Robert, I want to thank you so much for participating in today's conversation. It's been great talking to you. And like I said, I'm sure that if we didn't have to wrap it up, we'd be able to go for another hour. I'm probably going to reach back out to you and see if you want to talk more about AI. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
It's near and dear to me, and I'm fascinated by it. But for those of you listening today or watching us, thank you so much for tuning in and taking some of your time out of your day. Remember, if you found this to be beneficial to you, please like, subscribe, and share with your colleagues. We are the podcast that's all about diving into those real stories, making them relatable, so you can walk away with some tips and best practices that you can apply to your organization. Signing off from now, I'm Tony DeAscentis, CEO of Ving, your host for Compliance in Motion. Robert, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Tony. Have a good day.
You too.